Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming today. And we wanted to provide a brief update on where everything stands in regards to the Mulberry Street encampment. As you are aware by now, after discussion with the Capital Area Coalition on Homelessness, the City of Harrisburg extended the deadline for people to leave the encampment to last night. What we know now is most people have decided to check into the new location, move into the PennDOT encampment. About five, we're told, remain at the Mulberry Street encampment. But most importantly, a number have been able to check into different rehab facilities, and we were actually just informed, this is great news, that at least one was able to be reunited with their family and head back home. Those who remain at the Mulberry Street encampment right now, the city and cash will continue to work with these individuals to get through what is obviously an immensely difficult time. No arrests will be made for people who choose not to leave. No one will be taken into custody because, and this is very important to note, being homeless is not a crime. We will continue to urge them as to why it is important to leave, and we will continue to work with them. City of Harrisburg Public Works plans to begin the cleanup process tomorrow. The first step will be removing the area of any trash and anything that's left behind. This will take approximately 48 hours. Once that is complete, an exterminating company will come in and get to work on the rat issue. This will take in the neighborhood of about 6 weeks. This is where I know there's been a lot of questions in terms of what happens at this point. No one will be allowed back in the area during this time because it simply won't be safe. Rat traps and other exterminating items will be out, and for everyone's safety, we cannot have people down there. Once we get the all clear from exterminators, there's nothing we can legally do to keep people from coming back because the land does not belong, it's not owned by the City of Harrisburg. We didn't make that clear a week ago. That is my fault. I apologize. The city's stance is that we would prefer not to have anyone return, and we are working with cash right now as we speak on more long-term issues. We have with us today Department of Building and Housing Development Director and Cash President Denise Hill, Dauphin County Director of Human Services Randy Yeager, and a number of people standing with us, as well as Public Works Director Dave West. I didn't see him come in at the last second. But most importantly, the folks from the Capital Area Coalition on Homelessness, who have been tremendous partners throughout this entire process. There's not a single person up here who feels good about any of this today. After the city made that agonizing decision that this area needed to be vacated, we got in a room with the coalition and said, we had to make this decision. What do you need from us moving forward? What we've seen in just the past week and what you're going to see moving forward, because those conversations have already started, is the City of Harrisburg working in earnest with its valuable nonprofits for the first time in recent history to actually address the issue of homelessness in the City of Harrisburg. With that, we'll be able to take any questions.
Matt, when you got some pushback originally last week, who did you get pushback from?
To be completely honest with you, we received pushback from some of the folks up here. I think that's okay to be honest about that, because they had questions just like everyone else did. We value our partnership with the coalition. Denise Hill, who works for the city, is the president of the coalition, and it was important for us to get everyone in a room together and explain exactly why these decisions were made. Once we got in a room, and I think it was first thing Friday morning, we got everyone kind of in a room together and explained what happened. That started the process of all right, what do we do now? How do we make this work? How can we partner in a way that we haven't partnered before to make a terrible situation a little less terrible? And I think it's just the starting process now. There's still a lot of work to be done, but where we were a week ago compared to where we are now, I think is a big step in the right direction.
And I think you really do have an opportunity. And just so I understand, before the original press conference, had you had conversations with the other people beforehand, or not quite before the encampment was going to be moved?
Sure, we had conversations. The members of CASH who were involved in the decision to make this were Ms. Hill and also Randy Yeager, the County Human Services Director. That decision was made because of the immediacy It was an emergency that it had to happen at that moment. And that's where we said, we got them in the room and said, we had to make this decision. What do we do now? How do we make this the best possible case moving forward? And yeah, we did receive some pushback. We did receive concern. But at the end of the day, we left that room in a much better position than where we were beforehand.
I think this really has been an opportunity. How do you hope that the week that's transpired and the weeks coming forward will put Harrisburg and hopefully the people who are here in a better position?
I'm going to let Denise answer that question as someone who's involved in this in terms of, we're not going to be able to get into specifics on what exactly we're going to be doing because this is still very much a work in progress, but she can address that issue as president of CASH.
Good morning, everyone. So to answer your question, CASH has been working on a blueprint to end homelessness. That has been long-standing. We have been working on it. So it has been adjusted, if you will, due to the urgency of the health crisis. But we absolutely will be moving forward with that plan, and that includes finding housing, connecting individuals to resources, and just a more open and a stronger collaborative with organizations like you see here and others to continue to provide resources to those who choose to accept them.
Larry, I want to give Larry a chance to.
Sure. Who does own the land under the bridge? Is the Commonwealth, and if so, is state at all involved in this process?
The Commonwealth does own the land. It gets a little, anyone who's been down there knows that there's kind of two parts of this, and that's where it gets a little convoluted and complicated. So let me do the best to kind of explain here. Mulberry Street and the Mulberry Street Bridge is owned by the Commonwealth. The street directly underneath the bridge is South 10th Street, which is owned by the city, but you can't pitch a tent and set up an encampment in the middle of the street. That would be illegal. The areas that are located along the sides of the street, where the guardrails are, where the concrete support is coming down, that is just as much a part of the bridge. If you go kind of make a line there, an imaginary line, that is PennDOT owned as well. PennDOT is aware of what's going on. I believe their official statement is they're monitoring the situation, and we'll continue to work with them moving forward.
The city been in touch with PennDOT and said we would prefer people not come back? Is the city asking PennDOT to do anything specific at this point?
No, the city is not asking PennDOT anything specific. This is their decision to make.
Matt, kind of a twofold question. I mean, you said that you guys legally can't do anything to stop people from coming back. So how can you legally or, make them move? You mentioned there's still several individuals who are under that bridge. I mean, what do you do?
So I want to, we will continue to talk with them. We'll continue to work with them. We'll continue to try to convince them. I would like to bring up Isha Mobley, who was down there, I think this morning, and continue to work with individuals to try to convince them to leave and work with them.
What was the question again? I literally.
Yeah, there's several individuals who are still under the bridge. Obviously, the city doesn't have the legal authority to make them move. So, I mean, what are your next steps? I know you said you have exterminators coming in. Are they still going to come in as long as there's people living there?
They're going to do their job, and we're going to continue to do our jobs. We're all here to keep asking our folks to leave, to keep trying to make connections with them, which we've been doing all week, all weekend. We'll continue to do it today and tomorrow until we can get them out of there. But again, they're adults. They can make their own decisions and choices, and we're just there to help support their decision to exit wherever they want to go. So we are down to that remaining 5, but I think they're going to be in progress moving as well.
So I guess the next question is, if they don't move, I mean, do those exterminators still come in? I mean, that's kind of the safety. I know you had mentioned before
Sure.
the traps that are going to be set up.
Yeah, Dave, do you want to handle the Public Works side of this?
Yes, after we, after we clean the area as much as possible, then the exterminating team will come in and we will set the traps and do everything that they're going to do for the next couple of weeks to try to get rid of the rodent problem.
Whether or not there's people still living there, though.
It's a hazard for them to be there because of the situation of the rodents.
So are the exterminators going to come in though if people are still living there, is the question?
Yes.
What does the trash cleanup look like? I mean, seems obvious, but, how do you get rid of what is a long stay?
Well, we have equipment, heavy equipment. We have clam trucks. We have large loaders, small loaders, triaxle dump trucks, and we're going to go with full force to clean up the entire area with every piece of equipment that we have.
Just so I'm clear, maybe this is more of a question for Matt. Does the city have the legal authority when Mr. West goes in tomorrow to make people move in order to clean its right of way? Is that the legal concept here?
I'm not a lawyer. So that's the question that I'll have to get back to you on what the legality, so to speak. We continue to work with people. The last thing that anyone wants to do is have crews come in while individuals are still there. That's why we continue to implore them and give them urgency that this has to happen. Yeah. Hold on one second. Denise wants to.
Can I just add, there's a lot of emphasis on our, legal right and forcing them out. This is not the case. The reality is we are finding more so that we are working with the residents at the encampment, and we are finding habitable resources for them to move into. So there's a lot of focus and question on us pushing them out. Will we still exterminate if they're still there? We have gone from close to 70 or 80 folks there, down to 5. So that's what I really want to emphasize and highlight, is that it's not about us pushing people out or relocating. We are actively working with individuals to find the resource that works best for them. And that's a number of things: rehab, temporary shelters, relocating out of state back to their families. So some of them have homes to go to, and they are choosing to go back to them. So I just want to be very, very clear that I know that these are questions that the public would like to know the answers to, and you all want to know, but I just want to be sure that we are focusing on the fact that this is a collaboration, not just with the city and the county and the organizations you see here, but also with the residents of the encampment.
I hear the point that you're making, and I think we get hung up on the legality of it, which I think
Yes.
is some of the confusion too about whether people could return. So
Yes.
we're just trying to get to
Absolutely.
that. But I appreciate you saying that maybe it's not going to be a matter of are they going to be pushed out or not. Of the 5 people who remain, because you guys are having conversations,
Yes.
how many men, how many women?
3 and 2, I believe.
3 men, 2 women?
Yes.
And can you just give us an idea? Are they willing to move if given a little bit more time or the resources that you guys are all using to find those avenues? Does each of those 5 people seem willing to move in hours or days if the resources are fit into place?
Most of them, yes. So they are aware of what the opportunities are, and we're just continuing conversations with them to negotiate and see what works best for them. What we do know is that the Mulberry Street encampment is not an option once the work begins. So we understand that, and they understand that. So it's not a matter of us coming and laying, bait and traps while anyone is there. We'll just be working up until the minute that they do get there, and that's fine. This is the nature of work that we all do, so it's not uncommon for us.
You feel hopeful or discouraged? Sorry.
Absolutely hopeful. Absolutely.
What resources are being provided to people who are still under the bridge to assist them with the move or to get them, somewhere else and under that bridge?
Everything ranges from bus passes to physical relocation. So once a new site has been identified for individuals to go to, so we've identified a site, but if someone chooses not to go to that one and they want to go somewhere else, we're physically relocating. Downtown Daily Bread and CCU have also obtained donations, which we are holding until we actually get the person relocated to a new spot. We want to be a help and not a hindrance, so we're not giving donations until they are safely relocated at their new spot. Yes, ma'am.
There's a
from Mulberry Street to PennDOT. It's actually been, I'd say maybe, what would you say, 10, more than that?
I think you're referring to the new temporary location. Okay. Not PennDOT.
No, not PennDOT. Okay, so you're saying to the new site that we have identified. So as of today, there isn't anyone there. We did relocate a number of people there, and then as of this morning, they have chosen to leave the new site.
Where was that site?
It was further south on down towards Stilton.
On that site that the city could identify, can you talk a little bit about the thought process of identifying that site, why it's sort of outdoor site as opposed to maybe something a little more sheltered? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can take that.
Okay.
So the hardest thing in finding a spot to have a new relocation site was finding an area that had access to all the important needs. We needed to have access for Public Works to do sanitation pickup. We wanted to have access where people could easily hop on a bus if need be. We wanted to have access for people, individuals who choose to ride their bikes. And we tried working with organizations who were not able to, they wanted to, were not able to for a number of different reasons. So that left us with trying to find a place that the plots of land that the city of Harrisburg owns. And we were able to find a place that checks out all those boxes, and that is what we went with. Is it perfect? No, absolutely not. None of this is perfect, but it's also only temporary. And like I said at the beginning, we are, as we speak, working on more long-term solutions for when this, when the cleanup process is over. Hopefully we will have more answers for you then in terms of what more long-term options might be.
Now, clearly, the PennDOT site now is going to be the largest homeless encampment in the city. Already was big. Are you concerned now that that's going to become even more of a problem, and how is that being addressed? Because honestly, the situation down there, in my opinion, is not great already, and I know the people of Shipoke are very concerned about it.
One of the reasons why we're not concerned that the issues that were taking place under the Mulberry Street encampment are going to arise at the PennDOT encampment is because the individuals who are partaking in criminal activity down under the Mulberry Street Bridge, we believe were not actually homeless. They were going down there to get their fix, to sell drugs, to participate in whatever they wanted to participate. Of the 70 or so people that were actually at the Mulberry Street encampment at its peak, I think the county and cash groups estimated about 20 to 30 were actually homeless who wanted the help. So the individuals who are going to PennDOT are people that want to get better, that want the help. A lot of those people we mentioned earlier checked into rehab. One, we were able to reunite with their family back at home. So these are people who actually want to get better, who want to improve their lives. And if that means a few extra people at the PennDOT encampment, that's okay, because we're not concerned that the issues of crime are going to pop up there as they were at Mulberry Street.
Why?
Well, as I just mentioned, we don't believe that the people there are criminals.
Okay. Can't criminals just go there? I mean, I don't understand.
One of the reasons why Mulberry Street became such a hotspot is because it is on such a main drag. You have easy access from 81, 83. Cameron Street is maybe the busiest thoroughfare in the city. It's a lot easier to get there as opposed to the PennDOT encampment, which is a lot more sheltered. It's a lot harder to access that area.
Have there been any arrests of anyone who was involved, per se, in the Mulberry Street encampment because of that criminal activity?
We can tell you that we pulled up statistics going back to November 1st. And since November 1st, going into the first week of January, I believe, there were 16 instances of criminal activity. Of those 16, there were 6 assaults, there were 3 drug overdoses, and those are the statistics that we were able to pull for that Mulberry Street location.
But no arrests?
Well, no, there were plenty of arrests. Yes,
Any
the police were called for 16 separate instances of criminal activity.
This is sort of a broader school question, but when you're talking about solutions going forward, one of the big things talking about is the lack of housing. Can you specific about the city to address the affordable housing issue, the fact that the city is
Absolutely. So that falls under my purview as Director of Building and Housing Development. And we are currently working on a number of things. First, the creation, so construction and significant renovation of housing for individuals to move into, specifically affordable housing. Also working with workforce development organizations to be able to have individuals to actually afford housing, because the living wage is not always affordable. And then also looking at legislation on the rent costs, being more collaborative with landlords, so those who own properties, because the reality is there is no cap on what rent is, and that is at a federal level. This is not a situation that is isolated to Harrisburg. We are finding this all over the nation. So making sure that we are creating assistance through the federal funding that we receive to be able to assist people with moving in and sustaining that housing as well. It's one thing to move someone in, but if they're not able to maintain it, then we just get caught in a revolving cycle.
there any specific projects that you can mention currently when you say construction or renovation? Are there any buildings that are currently in the hopper?
Well, through home development, there is funding available to create new homes through 4 different organizations. At this point, there isn't anything specific. There is a proposal to add to that construction for other organizations, but it is only proposed at this time and has not been approved.
Before we wrap up, I want to bring up Corey Lingenfelter from Downtown Daily Bread, because one of the things that we noticed when we got together and kind of realized what was going on was a lot of people who wanted to help were helping in a way that wasn't really helpful in terms of how they were volunteering their time. And one of the areas that we're going to maybe or definitely see a more concerted effort to kind of gather our resources is to be more organized in these volunteer efforts. And Corey can talk to maybe the best ways if people are out there and want to help address the homeless situation in Harrisburg, want to help provide food or other issues or other items. Corey can speak to what are the best practices.
Good morning. So yeah, as Matt said, I think this has shown us as just organizations, myself personally, who went from running our DDB soup kitchen for the last 6 years to now doing the interim executive director, that we're better together. And I just want to emphasize, as Denise has said, if anything we've learned for 2 weeks is how we can be more collaborative with our efforts. I think it has shown me and our group personally to get more involved with organizations that we've already have been out here doing it. It's not a popularity contest of who can help the homeless better. It's who can help the homeless. Homeless is not going to end tomorrow as we clean out one encampment. It's a problem, but it's not a crime. And these are our neighbors. These are our unsheltered neighbors for whatever reason are like that. So I just want to emphasize that if you are out there and you're watching and you're like, hey, I don't like this, I don't like how this happened, or I want to get more involved, reach out to Cash, reach out to Downtown Daily Bread, to CCU. These are organizations that we have great, effective resources and programs already in place. And we would love the community to come together because, like I think Denise mentioned, we are handing out tents. I personally was out there for the last 2 weeks, working through the weekend, handing out tents, tarps, resources, bus passes. We're not saying no to anybody that needs resources. But we have, programs in place specifically for this. And so with anything we've learned this week is we want the community's help. We want to continue the conversations to be collaborative, and that's where you can start. So I know our website is on there, Downtown Daily Bread, but that is our goal, is to come alongside Cash more and consistently to be one of those programs that is effective in the community. So we've been here 39 years, but it is time to say, hey, community, if you would like to bring a meal into Downtown Daily Bread, call me, we'll get it set up. If you'd like to do a clothing drive right outside, call me, we'll get it set up. So we have those things in place, and we're ready to just take that community help, and however that looks like, it's available as of right now.
Corey, one question for
Yeah.
you. There were some efforts during the week that weren't necessarily affiliated with some of the Cash partners. Are you asking people to connect with Cash partners first in order to kind of fill
Yes.
the need?
I personally am, because I personally am going to be honest. It just cuts a lot of confusion and chaos out. Like I said, it's not a popularity contest of who can help more, but you're better together. So maybe who I can't reach, CCU can reach. Who CCU can't reach, we have a whole Cash coalition that can reach. So we're bringing those resources together and saying, hey, we have a hub, and let's do it that way. So yes, I am personally asking, like I said, if you do food on Saturday and Sunday, DDB is open 7 days a week. We serve food every day. But I am open to anyone coming and saying, hey, we want to prepare a meal. It's getting cold. Can we come serve the meal out of your dining room? Absolutely.
Matt, I just have one more question for Dave, just as the cleanup gets started, you're kind of the next step. How will you keep people away from that area when your public works people are doing the cleanup, and then when the exterminators come?
Well, we're going to block the streets. We're not going to allow any traffic through the streets when we're in the area cleaning. Also, in the extermination, we're going to block the streets also.
Will there be police patrols just to keep people out of that spot, or you don't need the police, or maybe?
There will be increased police patrol in the area.
And how much will that cleanup cost? Do we have a price tag for that?
No, we don't have a price tag for it because we don't particularly know how much we're going to receive as far as the cleanup goes, but it's part of our illegal dumping and blight funding that we have in our budget for the city.
So the city, it's an itemized portion of the city budget?
Yes.
Okay. How does the mayor feel about this?
One of the areas that she campaigned on was addressing homelessness in the city. And this whole issue has been enlightening and eye-opening for a lot of people, especially someone like her who has lived here her entire life. And I think we mentioned last week just how gut-wrenching and heartbreaking that this entire process is. That hasn't changed, but what is also really reassuring are the people up here, and how, whereas before we had a partnership with Cash, now we actually have a blueprint moving forward where, we stand united, and there is actually a path moving forward to address homelessness in the city. And this administration is addressing that in a way that previous administrations may have turned a blind eye to, and we're addressing it head on.
And other cities may have turned a blind eye to right now. How do you feel that Harrisburg is taking this on?
Well, like I said, this, having been on your side and having done stories in the past on homelessness in the city, how individuals were given hours to leave encampments. They weren't given much time at all. They were told, no, you got to leave now. And one of the things that we wanted to do from the start was, how do we address the emergency of the situation with empathy? 7 to 10 days, it's not perfect. There's no perfect answer in any of this, but we felt like that was the best time that we could possibly do. So I guess moving forward, it's continuing to address the issues with the empathetic nature that this matter deserves, but also with the immediacy that it needs. We're not going to turn a blind eye to this anymore. We're addressing this head on.
folks had been allowed to stay, hypothetically, folks had been allowed to stay under Mulberry, and the cleaning was not done, what did the city think was going to happen with regard to the rat problem? Is this going to...
Two parts. One, rats multiply. And then it becomes, I mean, that's the most simplistic way of saying rats multiply and they leave their surroundings. And two, we didn't want anyone getting bit. When Dave West mentioned to us that people, some of his workers were nearly getting bit, well, then we have to wonder, assume that if his workers are going down there a couple times a week and almost getting bit, what's that mean for the people that are actually living there? No one deserves to live in a situation like that. So we had to address that immediately, because if someone is getting bit by a rat, well, then there's a whole host of other potential problems that could come with that that we didn't want to explore. All right, everyone. Thanks so much.